Product lists are a very underappreciated part of the Johnstone website. They can be used for anything from making a quick shortcut to items you find yourself looking up all the time, to replacing the stock on your truck, to even replacing price books if you want to get really creative with them. So I'm going to show you the basics to start, and then I'm going to get into some of the more creative ways that we've seen customers take advantage of this feature. So the two main ways that you can create product lists are to first find the product and add them to a list one at a time. And the second way would be to visit the product lists menu and then create a list with all of the part numbers that you may already have. So I'm going to start with what I think is the simplest, and we're going to look up a product. So if you find yourself searching for different motors all the time, maybe you want to make a list of motors that you typically like to use. So in this example, we've looked up this particular condenser fan motor, and we're going to click Add to List right underneath the Add to Cart button. So you notice a pretty big pop-up is going to appear, but don't be intimidated. All it's asking you is, do you want to make a new list or do you already have a list? We are going to make a new list. We are going to call it Stock Motors. This description field here is not required. If you want to add some more detail or notes for yourself, you can, but you don't have to. Now down here we have Add to Folder. I'm going to talk about how to stay organized using folders later, but all you need to know for now is that you can create folders just like you would on your desktop computer to keep your lists in order. Unsorted is the name of the folder that will just default if you don't choose anything else. So that's what we're going to start with. Lastly, we have our privacy settings. So you can choose between locked, which allows everybody on your company's account to look at your list but not change it. You have the option to make it so that people can both see and edit your list if you pick editable, or you can use private, which allows only you to see your list. So we're going to stick with locked right now, and we're going to click Create List. Once we do that, we're taken to the brand new list that we just made. So you can see the product we added is right here. And we have some setting options, which we're going to get into in a minute. So just to kind of reinforce how simple this is, we are going to just search for rescue motors. So say, rather than looking up every single item individually, if you know there's a group such as rescue motors, you can just search for them. And you can use this box here to change this quantity to 1, which is basically selecting it. So as long as it's not 0, that means you are basically checking a box saying, I want to include this. And up at the top of the page is Add to List. So we're going to do that. And once again, we get this pop-up, but this time we already made a list. We're not making a new one. So like I showed you, Unsorted Lists folder is where our new list is. So we're going to find it in there. So in the Unsorted List folders, we can see Stock Motors, and you see we have one item in there. We're going to click it, and that is going to add all of those motors that we just looked up to the existing one motor that we already selected. Now that we've created product lists starting with the product page first, we're going to try the other method that I mentioned, which is going to the product list page and adding multiple items at once. Before we go there, I just want to make sure everyone understands you have to be logged in to use any of these features, and particularly on this step, it's important because you need to be able to see this item here. If you're not logged into your account, you won't see this menu option. As long as you are, you can just click Product Lists next to your name, and you're going to be on the product list menu. So the first thing you might notice is all of these folders on the left. Those work just like folders on your desktop computer. They just help you stay organized. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. For now, we're going to focus on creating a new list. So easily enough, we have a button that says New List. When we click it, we get a pop-up that's just like the one that we've seen before. In this example, we are going to make a spring maintenance list, and we're going to leave the description and the folder alone. We're just going to hit Create List. So once we've created that, it's going to look very familiar, but this time there aren't any products because obviously we haven't added any yet. We're going to do that using this grid here. So rather than looking up each product or doing a search and selecting a bunch of products, we're just going to type the part numbers if we already have them. So in this example, I'm going to type in some spring maintenance products. And whenever you run out of room, it's not a problem because you can just add more lines using this button right here. And you can do that basically as many times as you want. I do not believe that there's a limit, so I'm just doing that a couple times to give an example. I'm going to add one more product here. All right, so we're going to click Save to List whenever we're done typing. And all of our products appear just like they would have with the other method, but we've done it a lot faster. So if that wasn't fast enough for you, there's even another way. So we see this item called bulk. If you click on it, you can see there's just kind of this empty box. You can just type part numbers one at a time and hit enter between each, or if you have an email or a spreadsheet or anything that you can copy numbers from, you can actually paste them right into that box. So for example, I've got an email that says we'll be using these products. So I can just copy them and paste them right in here. And once again, hit Save to List. Now here's a really cool feature. If you make a typo or if you try to add a product more than once, it's going to actually kind of call you out up here and give you a warning. So this is the software's way of saying you have added everything that you just put except for this one because you already added it on your list previously. So you can see that the result is all of the items we added before plus those last couple from that email. So once again, you can save a ton of time if you just know the options that are available to you. We've briefly touched on the folders within the product lists menu, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail now. So basically the folders work just like the ones on your desktop computer. Some people like to make a lot of folders and stay really organized, and other people not so much. So this example account has 13 lists all under this unsorted lists folder, and you can see at 13 it's already kind of hard to find what you're looking for. So that is the purpose of creating multiple folders so that you can kind of get where you're going without going up and down the list searching for so long. So the unsorted lists is what will default on every account. If you don't make any folders, this unsorted list folders will be there, and that's where all of your lists are going to go until you create more folders, and then you can send your lists there. So just to show you, I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call it Service Contracts. In this example, we're just trying to organize any product lists we made that are associated with service contracts we have. And I am going to leave it locked. So you can see, just like with product lists, all of our folders that have lists in them can have the same settings. I'm going to click the checkbox when I'm done, and you can see it's now an option. And now that this folder exists, I'm going to put some lists I've already created in there just to get organized. So you can see I've got one called 7-Eleven Service Contract. I'm going to click Move To, and you can see all of the folders, except the one it's currently in, are an option. I am going to pick Service Contracts. You can see now there's one list. I'm going to find my other service contract list right here. I'm going to click Move To Service Contracts. And now that's two less lists on my main folder, and I can click on the Service Contracts folder to see these related product lists. So in here, in this example, I have put in the description that we go back to 7-Eleven the 10th of every month, and I have those items that I'm going to need right in this list. And same thing with this university contract. I've made a note to myself that I'm going back on April 15th and October 15th. So these are just ways of showing you how you can use this for more than just simply storing products that you like. You can actually cut out some steps and back up your notes that you may have somewhere else to remind yourself what these lists are for. And whenever you know you're getting ready to go to those contracts appointments, you can just add the products to your cart and you can check out and be on your way. Now that we're comfortable building and organizing our lists, we're going to get into the part where we actually get to use them. So as long as you're logged into your Johnstone Supply account, you're always going to have your product lists menu, and that's where you're going to access your lists. So like we mentioned before, you can access all of the lists that anybody in your company made as long as they didn't mark them private, as well as all of the lists that you yourself have made. So there's a couple of main uses for product lists. I could talk about wild and creative examples all day, but for now I'm just going to talk about kind of the most common uses. So the first would be if you know that a certain job or job type always requires the exact same items every time without fail, you can build a list and you don't even have to open the list anymore. When you're ready to use it, you can just skip right to adding it to your cart. So in this example, maybe we have a promotion and which would mean that our customers are ordering way more of these humidifiers, and therefore we're going to save ourselves time, set this list up, and now anybody in the company can just hit add to cart when they know they're installing that particular humidifier. So that one can save you a ton of time, and it also saves on potential mistakes. If you set it up correctly once, you're good to go. We're going to go back to the product list menu for another example. So that one would be kind of a replenishment or a shortcut list. So we've got this trucks folder here, and in this example, we've got a residential truck. So if you know that there's certain things that you always want to have on your truck, you can go ahead and make that list. And then as you use items throughout the day, you can go ahead and click on what you used and add it to your cart, and then check out and pick it up with the rest of your Johnstone order. And now you're able to kind of keep a minimum level and a really reliable amount of the same products on your truck all the time, which is going to save a ton of back and forth between your job site and the store. So the last one I'm going to do for now is going to be more of just a price check. So not all the time when you're making a product list does it necessarily mean you're going to go and purchase it every time you look at it. So in this example, we're going to look at refrigerant. And maybe you're just looking, you know you have to buy some for the shop, but you're not sure when or where. You can just make yourself a refrigerants list. You can click select all. You can click price and availability, and just by doing those very few steps, not only do you know what the current price, which we all know changes pretty quickly, and the availability is, but if we want to just order one or two of these, we can. So you can use this to unselect all, and say you just wanted to get R410A. You could just click on that. Maybe you want to get two, and you can add those to the cart. Now remember, sometimes you get a pallet deal or something like that, so you don't want to rule yourself out, but in general it's pretty safe to just kind of keep a list of things you know you want to price check, and then you can easily do it from one spot, and it doesn't mean that you have to order them all at once.